We are back, and I am going to respond to a question that was posed to me in one of the comment sections. First of all, I did a video about a year ago called Why I Unsubscribed from Doomcock, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Josiah Rises, and it's had almost 80,000 views. And you know, I was just very frustrated with the climate that has formed on YouTube, where certain individuals figured out how to monetize off triggering people, and it's so obvious that the only people that don't see it are the people that go see their videos. But I digress. So Bunwalla here had first, he goes into a lot of the stuff that was in the video, and that's fine. But then he comes up here with this question here. Okay, he says, I have a question about something you said in this video, though. You said that Terminator Genysis ruined the franchise. What does that mean? Does a bad entry in a franchise ruin the earlier films that you enjoyed? If not, why is it so hard to avoid using negativity towards the entire franchise when one part of it wasn't very good? All right, we'll just go with that. So one of my issues with first of all, the only two Terminator films are the original Terminator film and Terminator 2. If you look at it from a storytelling point of view, it's a full circle. It's a completed storyline. There never should have been a Terminator 3. There never should have been a Terminator Salvation. There never should have been anything going forward. But of course, it's Hollywood and it's show business, which means it's a business and they want to keep making as much money as possible. Now, that being said, one of the problems I had was Terminator 3 was a pretty decent entry, but it kind of, once again, rehashed the same old stuff that we had seen before. One comes from the future, messes with people in the, in the present time and so on. And Terminator Salvation actually did something very unique. It wasn't a Arnold Schwarzenegger centered film, and it really kind of was trying to launch a new trilogy at the time. But people just expected, I think people just expected Arnold Schwarzenegger to be in that film. And of course they did do a CGI version of him, which to me, that was one of the better parts of the film because, one, I mean, it was the beginning of how they were doing CGI humans, but so it was okay. They even had a body double, a bodybuilder, do some of the scenes. But what's frustrating is that movie went through a lot of different changes. I'll get to Genysis in a second, but that movie went through a lot of changes. The original script was all about Kyle Reese. So it was kind of going to launch, like you never heard John Connor, or you never saw John Connor throughout the entire film. The original script had him as a voice, and he was on a submarine hiding off the coast from the hunter killers and the Terminators. And only at the end, after a climactic little battle with Kyle Reese and some of the resistance fighters, did the submarine surface and the hatch open up and John Connor appears. But once Christian Bale signed on board to the film, it took a different turn. They did rewrites and they expanded on his role, and instead of him just being a voice, they put him in the movie. And then unfortunately, for the actor playing Kyle Reese, who passed away, his role was minimized, and that's must have been frustrating for him because he thought that was like really gonna. He had done previous work, but that was going to launch him into the stratosphere, if you will, with a new franchise being Kyle Reese, and that didn't happen. So there was some missteps there. I worked on a TV show, and Michael Lang, I believe it's been years, 2008, was the production designer on Terminator Salvation, and he told me all sorts of cool stuff about what they had in mind. The Moto Terminators were actually Terminators holding on to wheels with their feet and hands, and at some point, in a battle sequence, they were going to let go of the wheels and stand up and grab the guns off of them, and then they would be Terminators shooting. And like some of the stuff that he described in the concept art and the stuff that never made it to screen was just like, oh, that's amazing. That should have been in the movie. I always find that concept art, whether it be Star Wars or whatever, whenever it leaks online, it looks so much better than what the finished product was. But anyway, Terminator Genysis, okay? When they had the misstep with Terminator Salvation, which actually Terminator Salvation, I thought, even on its own, they could have just kept going with that storyline instead of rebooting it again. So they rebooted again. They come in with Terminator Genysis. Now, Terminator Genysis had some really good ideas. I loved the part at the end where the Terminator was thrown into the vat of the mimetic polyalloy, and then shows up at the end as a Terminator with endoskeleton under liquid metal with endoskeleton underneath. And I thought, well, that's a good twist, and that's also a way when Arnold gets shot in the future, if they keep bringing him back, that they don't have to do the blood and ripping of the face with the skin. He can just be the Terminator and get the battle damage, and then the liquid stuff just heal up. And I thought that's a good way to solve a problem. Where the movie just kind of floundered for me was Jai Courtney. I think Jai Courtney, I always call him a franchise killer. He was in that last Die Hard film, and it just was awful. He was in Terminator Genysis, and it just was awful. Jai Courtney, they killed him off in the Suicide Squad after that second film. He got killed in the beginning of the movie. Very unexpected, but I think there's a reason for that. He's pretty. Okay, he's got the ripped body and all that kind of stuff. He's got the Australian accent. His American accent's just not very good. And he's just not a good actor. You take Michael Biehn, who played the original Kyle Reese, and he was a theatrical trained actor. This guy was method. You look at the scenes of him when he's talking to Sarah Connor in the original Terminator film, when he's talking about the machines and he's telling the stories, or even the action sequences. He gave 150% every time that camera rolled. But when you watch Jai Courtney in Terminator Genysis playing the same character, it was weak. It was the flattest, most boring performance you'll ever see in your lifetime. So right there, that kind of killed it. For some reason, there was a joke that was in Terminator 2 Judgment Day that ended up on the cutting room floor where the Terminator smiled. There was a reason it ended up in the cutting room floor. It's because it was really bad and cheesy. But for some reason, they always try to rehash that joke and bring it back. And they did in Genysis with the trying to smile again with the Terminator. And just like the jokes got old, Arnold, keeps getting old, and they had to keep putting in the storyline why his skin aged because he was still around. And then the other thing is, as much as I love Emilia Clarke, who I love in Game of Thrones, and I've liked her in everything she's been in, she didn't put the work in to be Sarah Connor. And I think that was because of the production schedule. They didn't have enough time. They were trying to get the movie out. And she wasn't as ripped as Linda Hamilton, who put in serious work to re-sculpt her body and get ripped. And if you're going to play Sarah Connor, you can't look soft. And so I feel like the movie was rushed. And then one of the biggest problems with Terminator Genysis is, once again, they gave away the biggest plot point in the movie that they could have held, which was John Connor is a Terminator that was attacked with those nanobots, and he's now a Terminator. That could have been held and not shown in the trailers, and they spoiled it in the trailers. They gave it away, and it was just weird. So I thought that was it. I thought, man, they've screwed this thing up so much that they can't redo it again. Well, here comes Terminator Dark Fate. And yes, my original video with Terminator Dark Fate, my rant, had 112 F-bombs dropped in it. I was very upset because, once again, like Terminator Genysis, James Cameron did a pitch video for Terminator Genysis. and he said it was the best Terminator film since the original. He said that they've made a hybrid. They brought elements of his first movie into this one, and this is so exciting and all this kind of stuff. And I was amped. I was like, this is going to be great. And then the movie was so bad. And then Terminator Dark Fate, they had a writer's room with a bunch of writers in there, all coming up with ideas. And all they did for all their ideas was literally cherry pick all the other movies and put it into one. And so if you didn't think that killed the franchise, because they'd already done that in Terminator Genysis. Let's take a Terminator and put, liquid metal on top of them. Okay. That they did that in Terminator Genysis. Okay. Let's go back in time once again. I mean, there was no progression of the story forward, which Terminator Salvation, I think, had a progression going forward where there would not be any, if you will, time travel. And that's important. You don't need the time travel to do these films. So when I say it ruined, I said, yeah, it ruined. Terminator Genysis kind of set the tone where Salvation could have gone forward and done something really unique going forward with that new trilogy. But then Terminator Genysis was the launch of a new trilogy. And then Terminator Dark Fate was the launch of a new trilogy. And Terminator Dark Fate failed. And, it didn't fail for what I felt were wokeisms or anything like that. It was bad storytelling. You killed John Connor off. They tried to shock the audience and take it in a different direction, but that was the biggest slap in the face to all the fans. Again, it's like killing Han Solo. It's like killing Luke Skywalker without there weren't any real moments of closure. And it's because, they're just doing the CGI thing with a young John Connor and digitizing Edward Furlong's face on him, a young version of him. And I watched how they did that special effect. Great stuff. Too bad they couldn't have really given him a different send-off than what they did. And then it just seemed very lazy. And once again, they ruined the coolest part of Terminator Dark Fate in the trailers. The initial first teaser trailer that Tim Miller puts out that he cut himself, edited himself, was the Terminator separating on top of the hood of the truck and becoming two Terminators. Like, why? Why just not leave that in the movie for the audience to discover? And it just, the whole separate timeline and the Rev 9 and all this kind of stuff and the Terminator, like it just, and Carl and the drapes and the comedy and it just, and him with his AI. I mean, it's like it ignores everything else. It's like the they explain in Terminator 2 that the chip is the Terminator is a learning computer. So you reset the chip and it learns. Well, is it really going to learn empathy? It's a Terminator. It's got one job, to kill. Then when it's done with its target, it's supposed to blend in with humanity until the bombs fall so that the next thing you know, the Terminators can start taking over. There is no, the future's been just rewritten and now I'm here and I'm just going to love children, and all the programming, all the things that make him an efficient killer are all just going to be set aside. It's a computer program. It's not, we're not living in, it's not like, it just was bad writing. So Genysis, really, they could have went forward with Salvation, and they decide to reboot, and Genysis just killed it. Jai Courtney is the franchise killer. And that's why I said it. There are only two Terminator films. Terminator 1, Terminator 2, just like there's only one Matrix movie. It's the first one. It's a fully realized, circled, arced character, developed movie, and everything else after that was cash grabs. So it is show business. Those are my thoughts. And, I want to thank Bunwalla for the question. And I hope that answered your question.